Hello and welcome. I'm Annette Reeder from thebiblicalnutritionist.com. And today we're talking about what are the 7 longevity secrets to slow and reverse aging quickly. Well, I am delighted that Dr. Jay Hitson is here with me as well. And this is a very important topic because people are aging at a faster rate than we have in decades. And there's contributing factors to this. And if you just know these 7 secrets, we can start turning this around immediately. Well, this is exciting. This is fun to talk about. But before we get started, let me just say thank you for letting me share with you God's recipe for excellent health. It always includes the number one factor. God loves you. He loves you with an everlasting love, and He's loved you from the moment of conception. Well, I hope you've already grabbed my 7 steps to amazing biblical health on my website. It's a free download. And what's in that is also going to be talked about in what we're talking about, because those 7 amazing biblical steps are also or what is going to slow down your aging, and we're going to improve our longevity. Well, welcome, Dr. Jay Hitson. It's always a joy to have you join us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, so 7 secrets that people may not be aware of that could actually slow down aging and improve their longevity. I'm assuming we're going to talk about looking younger longer and those fun things, or do you have other key tips that you have for us?
Well, here's one of the things is, obviously we all want to look fantastic as we age, but really having all of the exterior is just a reflection of what's going on the interior. So many people ask me questions about how to have healthier hair, keeping my skin looking younger and all of those things. And while there's definitely things that can be done, on the exterior, it's really about what's going on the inside. That's going to make the the long haul. If because I'm going to tell you, you don't look at these individuals who you find out that they're 85 years old and you would have thought that they're 60. You're always going to find that there's certain principles behind how it is that they look so good.
So true. So true. I share many times when I'm talking about the 3 principles of eating that Maria Kilgore, she was 76 and they just thought she was done. This was the end of her life. Well, they started eating healthy, eating by the 3 principles. Well, she lived a healthy, vibrant life until 97. So it is so possible. And all right, so get us started today on these secrets.
Absolutely. So number one, you really want to age well. You want to feel great. You want to look great. It is a lot about detoxification. You can't store in toxins because toxins are going to be one of the things that are going to show up in your skin very, very first thing. Now, we do use blood tests to know how well your detoxification agents are working. Specifically, your kidneys and your liver are the top ones. So we just want to make sure that the kidneys, the liver, they're functioning at the absolute optimal levels so that they're constantly churning and burning when you do get exposed to these different things. We don't want to consume them. We don't want to get exposed to them. But when we do, we want them to be eliminated. Number 2, you have to keep up with your immune system. Now, this is really, really simple, but so basically, and again, I use a CBC count. This is the very, very common. We look at it from a different angle. So keeping your immune system super strong, because you're not going to age well if you're constantly fighting back and fighting off, every bug, every bacteria, every virus. If you're already getting sick all the time, that's not a good sign. You are not aging well. We need to get your immune system super, super strong because frankly, the population who's in their 80s and in their 90s and doing fantastic and maintaining their independence, they're not sick. So the immune system is just the very, very basic starting point.
So true. And I love how the blood panels give us an inside view of what's going on because you can feel good until you see the blood work and realize, yeah, I did have a few issues. I just didn't want to mention it.
That's exactly what happens. And then, kind of bringing into how you feel, that would be number 3. Now, so hormones. Hormones are really, now you don't have to necessarily have high hormone levels to age well, but you do need to understand where your hormones are at, and you need to be using your hormones as a regulator to tell you, just kind of, it's like getting a temperature for the body. Your hormones are so sensitive to all the other factors of the body. And when you do have better hormone levels, you're going to feel more vitality. You're going to feel younger. I mean, that's why hormones have made such a splash out there. So just knowing what your hormone levels are, and that's again something that a lot of people, they're just not, they think they have hormone issues. They assume they do because of some of their symptoms, but you really have to get it tested to know for sure, is this an issue or is it not? And should you even be addressing it? Yeah, from there we go into vitamin deficiencies. Okay, you're just not going to make it very long if you don't have the raw building blocks. We're constantly churning and burning and turning over our cells. So you have to have these very basic building blocks. So as you know, we always are looking for vitamin D. Vitamin D has kind of become a superstar since COVID. A lot of people are aware now of vitamin D, a bedrock, but we also look at calcium. We look at magnesium. Magnesium can tell us so many things about, again, this isn't about just making it to 80, 90, 100 years old. We want to be happy that we're there as well. And having good magnesium, there's just so many factors to anxiety and depression and good quality sleep. And magnesium does so many things, but we need to know where your levels are, because I do run into people who are just they're overdosing themselves because they're trying to address another issue. So just making sure that you're in those really awesome healthy ranges with just your sheer raw vitamin levels. Now, that kind of pulls me into point number 5. So if you want to age well, you have to maintain really good muscle mass. You have to hold on to your muscle. Now, just from my background and working so much in regenerative medicine, when you're working with regenerative medicine, you're trying to keep the joints alive. And I watch people who are aging very, very well and people who are definitely not. Having a good, strong frame, keeping you upright, okay, keeping you vertical, literally keeping you vertical is so important. Just in everything that you want to do, but then also metabolism. A lot of individuals talk about how they're gaining weight as they're aging, which is somewhat normal and natural, but not if it's because your muscles you're losing so much of metabolism because you're losing your muscle. So we do run what's called a creatine kinase. It's a really beautiful indicator just as to what's going on with your muscles. Are you maintaining? Are you not? And it gives us a nice understanding of where you're at with regards to your muscles. And then if we're going to go, kind of in that same vein, I'm going to, so I love creatine kinase, but I also love a test called alkaline phosphatase. Now, this one tells us a lot about your bones. Okay, so I love this one because it tells us a lot about, are you, and it's not an osteoporosis test. It's more about just what are your bones doing, and are you using your bones for fuel? For what it's worth, it is also a fantastic marker for catching some of the cancers as well, which is factors into aging, obviously. But alkaline phosphatase is just a wonderful marker that just tells us so many things about our bodies. But, again, maintaining that really good, strong frame. And then if we're going to kind of get into our last 2 points, inflammation. Okay, we know this one. Anybody who's watching this is like, yes, inflammation, but it's true. It's really, really true. If you want to age well, and again, I make this joke, but if you want to be older and happy that you're still alive, my dad says this to me all the time. If I would known I was going to live this long, I would take better care of myself. You want to feel good. You want to feel great whenever, as when you're in your 80s and in your 90s. Well, that doesn't just happen. The decisions you make in your 40s, your 50s, and your 60s, that determines your 70s, your 80s, and your 90s. You don't get to wake up at 92 and decide, okay, now I'm going to get healthy. You got to think about these things decades before. And inflammation is one of those things that does wear and tear. It can wear and tears at your whole body. We talked about it just recently. It wears and tears at your cognitive function. It wears and tears at your mental sharpness, but it wears and tears on your joints. And again, we want to be 90 and independent and feeling fantastic. And inflammation is just definitely one of those things. And then the last one that I'll bring up is keeping your thyroid right where it needs to be. Your thyroid has a lot to do with your energy levels. It has a lot to do with your just entire basal metabolic system. It really is one of the things that will keep you younger. And here's one of the things is if you're just constantly you're not absorbing well. If you're in a malabsorption state, your body's always going to prioritize essential organ functions over non-essential organ functions. So one of the non-essentials is your thyroid. So if you've got all these things going on over here, that are stealing your resources and pulling your resources away, your thyroid is kind of the helpless bystander in this process. So just making sure that the thyroid is staying healthy and it's staying strong so that you have the right metabolism. And we test for all of these things. We run a full thyroid panel, which is just not typical. It's hard to get anything past a TSH. People think that they're getting their thyroid tested, but it's really just usually a TSH. You really want to see what the T3s and the T4s are doing so that you can take care of any problems while they're still minor problems.
Oh, this is such a good list. And you've been very clear about what people need to look for. So we've outlined by what you've shared today, what they need to be looking for on blood panels. And blood panels are just that inside view of what's going on in your body. And I feel like there's days like, I just really want to have blood tests every day just to kind of say, okay, how did that food affect it? How did this food affect it? How did my exercise regimen, how did that work for my blood panels? But most of us don't want to go and have blood panels done every day. But we do need to be intentional about getting the blood panels done. I always recommend get a set right now, know where you are, and then retest in 90 days. That tells us are the changes that you're making actually working? And if they are we going in the direction we want to go? And then sometimes you can wait 6 months to test. I mean, I don't like going that long, but if you have to, that's fine. So you continued that. How well did you keep improving? Or was there something that happened that, okay, that didn't work? So we need to know that. We need to know what you're doing that's working and what you're doing that's not working so that you can adjust and make changes. So specifically with vitamin D, it's just a simple test to have done. Get it tested. I've got the most excellent vitamin D supplement on my website. It is incredible and totally helps bring up that vitamin D very well. And you can test in 3 months, like, wow, look what I did. And it's like, yes. So now we need to test again to see if we need to continue at that dose or lessen it because we've reached a new level. And that's why we take blood tests so that we can see that inside view. The other thing is many times food can make a big difference. So changing your diet to the Bible diet, which I talk about extensively, which you can learn more about that on the 7 Steps to Amazing Biblical Health on my website. It's just a free download. Don't rush it though. I want you to take your time on that. You can just start switching over to just looking for the foods that God called good for you and start eating those foods and get rid of some of the lab experiments that are out there. And you'll see your blood work start to turn even quicker. So you're talking about muscle. We have to be exercising. We have to be moving. Nutrition deficiency. Do we have enough water intake to help metabolize our nutrients? Inflammation you talked about, a lot of that is fed by processed foods. So we start eliminating that processed foods and inflammation goes down. We have our inner circle coaching group, and lady last night says, all right, I started eating no processed foods and my inflammation was like at a 10, meaning like from 1 to 10 pain level. She says, I'm down to like a 3. She says, it's amazing what these foods will do. And it's like, yes, if we just change food first, we can save ourselves a lot of pain in the future. And hormones as well, they respond to food changes and pretty much everything you listed here. So metabolism, many people think, well, I'm constipated, therefore I must need a pill. No, You just need some real food. And most processed food is very low on fiber and healthy nutrients. So everything you suggested here is so important. And longevity is not something we wake up at 60 and is like, oh, now what do I do? No, people are getting smarter. They're starting to say at 30, I want to stay young. How do I do that? And I'm so excited to see the change in the shift of thinking that maybe I can start at my 30s. And that's where we want you to start at your 20s. So once you've reached maturity, now how do we keep this level of health for the rest of your life? So that's what our goal is, that you wake up early and make the changes and you enjoy life even more.
I mean, that is it. And I mean, and I think from my standpoint, every year that goes by, these things become more important as we, just yesterday, we celebrated my baby's 21st birthday, 21 years since my baby. And it's one of those things. They're in just such a wonderful season. I want to be there, right there with them. I want to, I want to be able to do all of these things for decades and decades and decades to come. So what decisions can I make now that, okay, I feel fantastic because I made them today, but then also are going to just lead to us having wonderful, more glorious, fantastic celebrations, again, decades and for years to come.
That is so true. One of the thoughts that some people have is they get to the doctor's office and they get a diagnosis. At that moment, you can't hit pause and say, hold on, I need to go back 10 years and change a few things, and then I would not be sitting here today. And that's what we need to understand. Make the changes today so you're not in the doctor's office in 10 years receiving a diagnosis. And so much of what we shared here today can totally change this around quickly. We said that in the title, this can change this around quickly. I'm talking days. Within days of changing your eating and your exercise and your hydration, you will see results quickly. You'll see it in your skin, which, as she shared, the external, it represents the internal. It's what happens. So thank you again, Dr. J, for another great interview and just helping us to just have the basics in a very simple format that we can take what we've learned, apply it, and see the results.
No, thank you so much. I just absolutely love sharing it. It really is such a joy to be able to live and to help people who share, who want the same things. We don't want to get into our 60s and say, okay, that's it, I'm done. No, okay, that's just the next phase. So it's wonderful how many of us are aging well together now.
So true. So true. All right. So for those of you watching, if you say, man, I just really wish I could just sit down in person with Dr. J or with a net reader. Well, you can. It's happening this October 2024 at our biblicalwellnessretreat.com. Check that out. Get signed up for it. We have very limited seats available. So be sure and sign up right away. If you're watching this video after that event has taken place, go to the website anyway, get on the wait list so you're the first to be notified of our next retreat. This is where you get to hear from experts like Dr. Jay Hitson. I will be there. We have other experts coming as well. And it's all going to be based on the biblical truths of God's word. And I just kind of came up with this phrase. It's ancient flavors to heal today's health challenges. And we're going to be talking about foods too, because we are foodies, and fermenting and sourdough and all of those ancient foods that initiate the healing. And yes, we'll be talking about other topics as well that are very important to you. So check out the website, biblicalwellnessretreat.com. Get signed up right away. It's going to be happening in Missouri in October 2024. I hope to see you there. And in the meantime, thank you for letting us be a part of your day, watching us here at the Biblical Nutritionist and being a part of our family. Thanks for watching.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to your journey towards reclaiming your health and rediscovering God's answers. I'm Annette Reeder, the Biblical Nutritionist, and I'm thrilled to invite you to our Biblical Wellness Retreat this October 3rd through the 5th. Are you struggling with cancer, infertility, or simply just seeking a deeper connection with the Lord? This retreat is designed just for you. We're deep diving into biblical truths and ancient flavors that will help you reclaim your health both physically and spiritually. Imagine a setting where you can connect with others who truly understand your journey, where you're going to learn cutting-edge techniques for overcoming health challenges, and where you're going to rediscover the joy of God's presence. Together, we'll explore God's cellular design and how you can feed it for immediate changes, and how to know what is happening in your blood and why it matters. Our goal is to help you heal and reclaim your health, to leave the retreat with a personal plan that you can start immediately. Now, space is very limited, so don't wait. Click the link below to secure your spot and take the first step towards prospering and being in good health, as it says in 3 John. I can't wait to see you there.